RPN is not responsible for the views, actions, opinions, or statements of its guests, advertisers, or even its viewers. The information on this program is not to be construed as medical or legal advice. An appearance on this show is not necessarily an endorsement, and as always, we encourage you to do your own research. Enjoy the show. Good evening, Patriots. Welcome to another edition of Comfy Sunday. As always, I'm your host, RP. Joining me live in the studio tonight, as always, my co-host, M3. And in the second half of the program, our returning guest, Mark Taylor, the Trump Prophet, in our continuing series on the election and what is happening for the future. I can see that many people are aware today is my birthday. Thank you, guys. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Some good, some not. But we're going to do our best to try to stay positive. Do me a favor, guys. Don't forget to like and share this broadcast. Help us break through the algorithm. Get the information out there to the people. In the meantime, sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a very brief word from our sponsor. Keep Jesus with you wherever you go with the limited edition 2020 Christ the Last Supper coin. This limited edition coin is highly sought after, and it's being given away completely free until they run out. It's the perfect gift for yourself or for a friend or a family member that loves collecting coins or loves Christ. On the front side is a beautiful etched illustration of Jesus, and on the reverse is a perfectly etched illustration of the Last Supper. The Last Supper coins are free, so they're going fast, and once they run out, you won't have another opportunity like this again. So hurry, get yours while you still can, and visit sendmejesus.com. That's sendmejesus.com, or click the link in the description or pinned comment. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. All right, everyone, welcome back to yet another edition of Comfy Sunday. Thank you very much for all the birthday wishes. I really do appreciate it. I am 42 years young today. Methods, how are you?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm just going to say on the show, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Excited for you. 42. I still don't believe you. I know many in the chat don't. Ever since you accidentally doxed yourself a long time ago. I was like, oh, he's my age. I'm going to be 35 next year.
Yeah.
And then when you said you were early 40s, I thought you were lying. But yep, here we are. Happy birthday, man. And thank you. I tried to talk you out of doing the show, but you wanted to do it, have fun with everybody, spend time with everybody. So I hope everybody in the chat's doing well. And another Comfy Sunday.
Absolutely. And we are so pleased to have Mark Taylor back. As I said in the intro, he will be back in the second half. And we've got plenty of things to talk about today. We had some tragedy happen in Portland, but we do have some good news amongst our movement. Now, anybody who watches the show, who watches any shows really in this, kind of category that we're in, or if you're on Twitter, then you probably know Punisher. And Punisher has been under the weather, to say the least, for the last couple of days. He's going through some issues with heart failure. And Methods, he's had some emergency surgery, and it looks like he has started to pull through.
Right. Yeah. I've been talking to Victoria Gates, who's been in contact with people that are with him. And shout out to her. She's been making sure everybody's staying informed. I'm sure she's getting hammered with requests for updates. But she actually had recorded a message for him to have played to him while he was basically, I guess you say unconscious. He hadn't opened his eyes or anything. He was holding on. And he had apparently during that pointed to his heart and then pointed to the phone that was playing, her message from everybody. So that was definitely uplifting. And then actually, as of a half hour ago, we have a tweet from her. I will drop it in the chat for everybody so you guys could show your support over there, because I'm sure he's going to be reading all these messages, because he's had a lot of support. But yeah, the tweet says, "I'm talking to the Punisher right now. He loves you all so much. He died for 3.5 minutes."
Wow.
Yeah, 3.5 minutes. He was, technically dead. And then she said, "We are going to do a show based on what he has experienced." Victoria Gates does her show on her channel. Once again, I'm dropping the link to that tweet. She's got links to all that stuff in her bio. But then the quote from him is, "I'm closer to God. I'm closer to God than ever now." So that's very exciting times. Obviously, having that, going through this over the weekend, because I had just talked to him a week ago on voice chat, and he was Punisher. He was that energy, upbeat, willing to help, servant's heart. And then to find out that he, what happened to him Friday was just god awful. And for anybody that doesn't know, he was rushed to the emergency room, and they had to do, as I understand, 2 emergency surgeries on him over the weekend. And and so as of now, he's on the up and up. He actually talked to her on the phone. So anybody that doubts prayer, and we know everybody prayed, if anybody's been on Twitter last few days, we've all been praying like madmen for him. That right there is prayers being answered. So continue to lift him up, lift up his family, lift up the ones around him. And exciting news to start off the show with.
Yeah, most definitely. And I wanted to make sure that we started the show on a good note, because there's definitely going to be some things that are troubling tonight, and there's no way to get around it. But obviously, we like to try to bring people good news as much as we can. I'm going to have to do a couple of quick thank yous right now so I can get them out of the way. Today, we had a donation from Jesse. She said, "You are the news. Happy B-Day, brother." I appreciate that, Jesse. Also, Nancy said, "Happy 42nd birthday, Red Pill. Abundant blessings." I appreciate you there. Also, Charles, Dana, Lisa, Marino Cutlery and Supplies, Phyllis, Dana, Gino, Rebecca, and Floor and Phyllis. Actually is going back to August 20th right there, because there were some that had come through but didn't get brought up in the regular notifications. So I had missed them, and I wanted to make sure that I said thank you to everybody. Also to Laura, we have, that would be, Laura, Darren, Kate, and also to LaDonna, Susan, Richard, Rod, and my Methods sent me a happy birthday donation. I couldn't believe that this morning. Thank you so much. And totally not necessary, but I love you, brother. Thank you very much. Zap Kennels and Charles. So thank you to everybody who sent over a donation and a birthday wish. I really do appreciate it, guys. So the next thing that we got to talk about is what happened in Portland last night. So obviously, Portland has been a war zone for what? It's going on like 7 or 8 weeks now, isn't it? It's been quite a long time. And Mayor Ted Wheeler, he has recently come out and condemned the violence and destruction. Don Lemon came out and condemned the violence and destruction. It seems that somebody finally gave the message to Democrats that their tactic of burning and destroying our country is not going to serve them well when it comes time for voters to hit the voting booths or to fill out their vote and put it in the mailbox. Whatever is going to happen. However, it's about to go down. But somebody's getting the message, because they haven't condemned it once. It's literally gone on and on and on. Nobody has spoken out about it except for us, except for the Republicans, except for President Trump. They wanted to pretend it didn't exist. Well, now they can't ignore it, okay, because people are losing their lives. We had a group called Patriot Prayer. They basically drove a caravan to Portland yesterday, and they were driving through the streets of Portland all day. Then late last night, in a senseless act of violence, someone who is a resident there in Portland, I believe, he essentially executed a member of this group on the streets of Portland. The video's out there. I'm not going to play it on the show. It's not something I want to watch again. If you guys want to find it, it's very easy to find. But it's not easy to watch. It's a horrific thing. And he essentially just walks up to this guy and shoots him and just runs off like a coward. Now, it's in stark contrast to what happened the other day with Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle was under attack from a group of people. They chased him. They were attempting to assault him. And as far as I'm concerned, he was acting in self-defense. That will come out in the trial, which is sure to take place. Now, the person who attacked somebody on our side last night, he hasn't been caught yet, as far as I know. But some clever anons online have put together some pieces of information, and we believe he has been identified, but he hasn't been publicly identified by the police yet. You know, this is one of those circumstances where I think a lot of people see what's taking place, and it's enough to break some people. You know, I mean, Methods, what do you think?
I agree, and like you said, the stark contrast in itself. You know, if Kyle Rittenhouse had gone and done what they were accusing him of, basically just going around and just Grand Theft Auto style video game, was mowing people down, and was also, you know, somebody who happened to, you know, look at himself as being from the right, we would condemn him. We would denounce him. We would look at the entire situation differently. So regardless of how they're trying to spin these things around, you know, last night, from the videos I saw, was they identified this guy as a Trump supporter, and then within a few seconds you hear the gunshots and took him out. And it's just terrible to see. And then if anybody who saw the clip later, once again, we're not going to play it live, of them doing their I guess it would have been Antifa, were doing a little like powwow, you know, speech situation, and essentially cheered when the person said, "I'm not going to feel bad for a fascist being killed in the streets." Yeah,
they were absolutely celebrating the fact that this young man had been gunned down on the streets of Portland. And, you know, I mean, the closest thing that I could see was people on our side, in reference to what happened with Kyle, saying, okay, well, you know, I mean, they came after him. You know, you want to play around, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. But nobody was out there chanting and cheering and celebrating the loss of human life in the same way that these people were. It's a completely different situation. And, you know, this guy, you know, also in defense of Kyle, prior to the event, I mean, he was there specifically to guard his place of employment and other businesses. He was cleaning graffiti around the city earlier in the day. There's a new video that's come out to show him just before the incident where, you know, these people lost their lives. He was literally running to put out a dumpster fire. Okay, these people are the ones starting the dumpster fires. These people are the ones who are setting these businesses on fire. These are the ones who are celebrating human life tragically lost. Nobody is doing that on our side. Nobody that's a supporter of the president is out there chanting and making videos and high-fiving and saying, all right, we got another one. It's a 666 situation.
Right, and it does lean into how the public have been manipulated to believe that it's actually a good thing that last night happened. It's vengeance for what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse, when we know that that person was, you know, said when he was in the hospital, said the only thing that he wished he had done was that he had killed Kyle.
Yeah.
So we are in the world. I'm sorry. I'm seeing people in the chat complaining left and right about your background making them dizzy.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just making you aware of it if you do want to change it to help people.
I mean, it's I will change it to something else here if people are getting sick by the background.
Right. And I can understand it on certain cases, you know, for people. And if it had just been one person saying it over and over, but I've counted maybe 7 or 8 people.
All right.
So, you know, not trying to talk trash about anybody, but we'll try to fix it as we're going. But
we'll go back to the original background. There it is. Nobody ever said that was making them sick.
Right. Okay. So the issue that we're running into here is that now it looks like in the public forum that sides are taking each other out, a life for a life type thing.
Yeah.
And so the concerns that can be happening here is somebody could set up the right by doing something to then justify the left doing something, and then back and forth. And what's not helping the situation at all is that garbage person, Ted Wheeler.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if you had caught the presser earlier, and some people in the chat were bringing up. We also, if you had been on Twitter the last few hours, you've seen it, or at least seen some people talking about it. What's happening now is that they're pivoting from these riots aren't a thing. They don't exist. People are just protesting. It's just a few situations. It's just a few fires. No big deal. To now, okay, there's violence. There's big problems happening. And this is Trump's America. It's Trump's fault.
Yeah.
And Ted Wheeler, is the one that took his time during this press conference when this death happened last night, within hours or within a day or two of him turning down help from the president, with his whole little letter and making a thing out of it, to then blaming Trump and laying this all at his feet, which anybody who's been following this for a while, and we're not just going to take credit, a lot of people have been saying it, we kind of saw this coming. They wanted to create all this chaos, and they said, oh, this is Trump's America. We could fix it with Biden because he's calm and quiet and doesn't know who he is, so it's not a big deal. He'll listen to the people around him. But the issue is, and we'll get into this later with Mark about this, is that how far is too far before something needs to be done? I know a lot of people are probably saying that it's gone on too long already and should be fixed. We have different opinions about this in general. We'll get into it later.
Yeah. Now, I also did want to say that the man who lost his life last night, he has been identified, and at least one person who watches the show is directly connected to him. And I asked for people to pray for their family earlier today on Twitter, and somebody had responded, and it was the person's brother's business partner and best friend, and that person, his name is Jay Bishop. He has been identified. President Trump tweeted it out, verifying that is Jay right there. This is a picture of Jay. And, it's a senseless act of violence. It did not need to happen. And we're going to get into who the potential shooter might be. We're going to talk about that as well. But, I think what's most important is that people need to keep a cool head about this stuff. The last thing that we need is to play tit for tat, okay? I don't want to see people go out into the streets and say, okay, you got one of ours, we got one of yours, now let's go get another one, and just continue it, because I think we're in a very dangerous situation here. I mean, it could quickly escalate into something much, much worse. And the last thing we need is to have us characterized as some type of violent aggressors. Right now, the left holds the definition on that. I mean, they are clearly the aggressors. It's not us. We will defend ourselves, absolutely. And I think that people need to be able to defend themselves. They need to be ready for this. But I can't stress enough. If you're going into a situation like this, then you have to be prepared. You must be prepared to protect yourself. But just do not go into something like this looking for trouble. And I don't think that's what Jay was doing at all. He was not the aggressor here.
Right. And because we've all been kind of not concerned, or some have been, that something like this would happen.
Yeah.
That it is going to become hot, lives are going to be taken and all that. When it happens, and I'm not trying to at all degrade the lives of anybody, even on the other side that are losing lives at this point.
Yeah.
It becomes extreme. Like, when you worry about something for long enough and then it finally does happen, even if it's years down the road, it feels like the weight of all that time you've been worried about it. The situation sucks, but at the end of the day, like we've said before, Red Pill and I are not at all trying to condone violence, at least with the platforms that we've created and what you guys, so graciously, spend time with us at. But with Red Pill and I not saying anything at all, as this continues, if it does continue, then it's out of our hands anyways. It technically is. The way this plays out, that's why the default that you always need to come back to in these things, religious or not, I mean, this would be the time to find God in your life if he's not in your life or whatever, but we got to pray. We've got to continue to pray and seek God's intervention in these things. And I do believe that even though we only really see the horrific viral videos, because that's why they go viral, that how much have we not had happen because of God's intervention or Patriot's intervention, the stuff behind the scenes trying to keep things in play. So we are going to continue and report on things as they happen. Not everything's going to be fun to talk about. And, we call the show Comfy Sunday, but I'm not about to sit here and say, yay, last night only one person died. It could have been thousands. I'm not going to justify it. It's evil incarnate happening in our streets, and it makes us sick. It's the first thing I read this morning, Red Pill. I was
me too.
Sit down with my coffee, and I see people talking about the death from last night. And I was like, I went to bed and nothing happened. And then I see it everywhere, and that's how I started my day. It's not fun. I'm not saying it's all about me, but we have to try to keep cooler heads. And when it comes to the work that we're trying to do, as far as the internet goes, information spread, spreading the truth, spreading these videos, making sure that the true information is out there, because I'm watching the left spin what happened to Kyle as he's the villain. And then last night it's Trump's fault and nobody on the left is the villain. Yeah. And that we cannot allow happen as far as the internet. That's why I've spent the last hour making sure when stuff's talking about to blame Ted Wheeler. Because he had the opportunity for this not to happen.
Oh, I said the same thing on Twitter. Yeah, I mean, Ted trying to characterize everything that's happening as Trump's fault is just completely ridiculous. He's the man there in Portland, okay? He's the one who is in charge of Portland, and he has allowed all of this to happen. He's only just very recently even acknowledged that this stuff is going on. I mean, it's been taking place in Portland, Ted Wheeler, for a very long time. You're the man in charge. Everything is at his feet. It has nothing to do with President Trump. Maybe they're using President Trump as an excuse to go out into the streets. But how many years of this crap have we had in America? Suddenly, President Trump comes into office and everything that predated him is his fault now? It makes absolutely no sense. These people are brainwashed. They're completely brainwashed.
Right. And think about it like this. And I had tweeted about this the other day. It's not like this started, this evil, this type of mentality, the willingness, or at least the opportunity for this to happen under Trump's watch as president. Evil has been infiltrating and taking positions of power, doing their corrupt things. Trump gets into office in less than 4 years, and him making decisions for the American people, literally doing what the president's supposed to be doing. And then all this is happening. Yeah. Every which way, they've been a wrench in every choice that Trump's trying to make, at least trying to stop his machine of progress for the American people. And this wouldn't be happening if we weren't drawing evil into the light that never wanted to be in the light. They wanted their power. They wanted to be left alone. I hadn't even heard some of these names of these governors and mayors before, to be honest. Different states, didn't pay attention to them. And now I know, like, Ted Wheeler is an evil man. Based on what I saw, I will say that. He is an evil man. Watching how he's doing this, the truth is there. He went through the same talking points, reading a paper. He was reading the notes. Who's printing off these notes? Oh, yeah. He was reading off this talking point list, and I wouldn't be surprised that if at least Obama didn't proofread it. But that's a conversation for another day. Sure. I think that we've got to continue to have this exposing happen, but I will agree, and I will agree with everybody in the chat who's feeling frustrated and all that. Something's got to happen, and I'm not saying it needs to be the American people doing it. I do believe it'll get there if nothing is done, and it's out of all of our hands. But I do believe we are at that point now where the enough is enough action outside of these people. We are knocking on that door right now.
I'm getting some strange feedback. I don't know where it's coming from. Okay, no worries. I completely agree with you. I mean, we're at the breaking point. I mean, the last week I have had just an incredible amount of anxiety. In the last couple of days, I mean, I felt like I had a hard time breathing, I mean, just like watching all of this ramp up and knowing that even though a lot of good stuff has happened, okay? A lot of good stuff has happened. A lot of people have woken up and, unfortunately, it took it getting this bad in order for people to allow themselves to wake up, to start thinking about things differently. But man, I don't want to see this continue. I can't imagine having to go through this again and again and again. I mean, I don't think anybody else needs to die. But timing is everything. And we're going to talk more with Mark about that in the second hour. So the investigation that's been done to determine who was at fault last night has identified this guy right here. He is a professional snowboarder, and he was, I guess, looks like he was initially interviewed by Bloomberg back in, back in July. He was involved in a scuffle back in July where he said that he was grazed in the arm by a shot that went off. He does have this tattoo on the side of his neck, too. And it's kind of, it's not the kind of tattoo that you see very many places, but neck tattoos right there. You can see it, his face, the way he looks. But he's been identified, and right now people are looking for him. I would imagine the Portland police are probably aware of him, but he was photographed, he was videoed in a number of different places, and he clearly had a sidearm, and there is even footage of him interacting with the man who was shot, driving by, and you can see here in this picture, this is the Patriot prayer parade going through. Here is the shooter right there. And I believe this was taken earlier in the evening. But I can only say I hope that they catch him very fast, very, very quickly. He's a professional snowboarder, I guess, and maybe a construction worker as well. I don't know. But this guy deserves the swiftest justice that they can mete out for him. But what bothered me the most, Methods, was the response from all of the people there in Portland. Sitting around in a group and cheering and just I mean, this guy that got shot and his family. I mean, I can't imagine. And for these people to be cheering about it, it was just really disturbing to me.
Yeah, I felt kind of bad sending it over to you. I know that you still wanted to work today and have, be caught up and stuff for the show. So I felt bad sending that to you today itself. But just real quick, I want to give a shout out to our buddy, Black Conservative Patriot. He's in the chat. Good to see you, brother.
What up?
He says 4chan for the win. Yeah, I had heard that too, that 4chan was involved in the identifying.
Yep.
And they will probably be involved in that, and the crew over on 8Code and finding the guy more than likely. But yeah, good to see you here, BCP. Hope all is well with you. I agree with you, Red Pill. Sometimes it is very difficult, and I know that we've kind of had the opportunity to be okay with being numb while looking at difficult things because we want to look at it for other people so they don't have to. So we can talk about it and explain it. But it is still hard when you step back and you're like, those people were born, out of the womb just like us. They were meant to have humanity in their hearts. And whatever's happened in their lives, I'm not trying to justify it, but to see them go so far away from being humane and being, having a heart and caring for life itself, it just makes me think about the culture itself that we've been trying to change.
Mm-hmm.
What do the movies do? And not all of them, but a lot of them glorify murder. They allow it to happen. What happens when big tragedy happens? Everybody runs away from the problem in fear, and they depend on the police and stuff to support it. Well, what happens when they are overrun and there's no respect of the police anymore?
Mm-hmm.
The music industry and what they've created with whether it be rap or whatever, making it to where there's a hatred for the police and not trusting it. Then you've got people like LeBron James and all these others coming out and demonizing, any form of leadership that isn't down the line of what the CCP, Nike, NBA is telling him what to say. That's where we have this, they want you to follow the stars. They create these idols because then they could sway the sheep in any direction that they need them to. Mm-hmm. And then that video of them being proud that somebody was killed, that they considered the enemy, the enemy in the same country as the enemy. To me, I don't know. This is probably us getting to see real evil outside of some of the other things we study when it comes to, whether it be Satanism or stuff like that. I mean, this is evil.
Oh, no, it is. I mean, this is clearly evil manifest. I mean, these people, I feel that a portion of their humanity has been sacrificed. I mean, there is something missing. Even like what happened the other day with 3 of these people losing their lives. I mean, I'm not going to celebrate that. I mean, I'm glad that somebody was able to defend themselves and get out of the situation, but they brought it on themselves. But I'm not going to turn around and cheer and say, yes, I'm so happy that these people are not going to, go home to their families. They're not going to be able to call their parents anymore. What if they have kids? I don't know. It's a tragic situation. And, the worst part about it is that because of the fact that they're brainwashed, they just have absolutely no clue about, what's really going on in the world. They don't understand it. They truly believe that what they're doing is just and that they're on the right side of history. But I mean, I guess that's how it's always been, the brown shirts in World War II. I think they probably thought they were on the right side of history, too. I think that everybody working for Stalin in Russia, they probably imagined they were doing the right thing. The Maoist revolution, they probably believed that they were doing the correct thing at that time. The Khmer Rouge, it goes on and on and on. These people are lost, and I hope that there is something that can be done to reverse that in them. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's why, you're supposed to pray for your enemies. I know that it's really hard because, everything's very emotional right now. But to me, one of the best ways to get things in the right direction is living in the right direction, not being supportive, not watching these things, not paying for these movies and justifying them making more. Some people in the chat are bringing up how video games create, violence and stuff like that. That's an argument that goes back and forth amongst this community because there's a lot of gamers, especially when it comes to anons. But living that way and raising your children in that way can help, counteract this kind of culture that's been evil and going on for so long. We talk about how Trump became president and, it saved us from the brink. Mm-hmm. Right. Well, then what is that ledge look like? That ledge that we're being pulled away from as is like what I know that we think about how bad it could have been if Hillary became president and we'd all be locked up in Walmart, empty Walmarts, all that stuff. But if we were pulled away from the brink, that means that we were living in the most extreme parts of this evil culture itself. And we have to pull our ways back from it. And that takes time. And that's what we're living through. And is it difficult to see? Yeah, if it's getting to people out there, we always tell people, put the phone down, take a break, pray, find something else, spend time with family. This is going to be very difficult. I mean, every day I'm like, okay, we're at least one more day closer to the election because we know that things pivot a little bit in a different way. I'm not saying it's going to be easier, but it pivots in a different direction because we are still going to speak into existence that Trump is going to win. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those times that it's just not always going to be, comfy.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew that things were getting bad when they were starting to set up. Well, I mean, I knew they were bad before this, but I knew that things were really bad when they began to set up guillotines in certain places at these protests. I mean, they put one in front of the White House. They actually put an effigy of President Trump inside that guillotine. I mean, that is a fairly stark indication of the direction they hope to go. They put another one in front of Jeff Bezos's house. Now, that one seems a little, more humorous, only because Jeff Bezos and these tech tyrants, they seem to support the values and the goals of these people. But however, they're going to be on the chopping block as well. I mean, like, they're not going to escape. I mean, they want their wealth. They want to take their power and their prestige, and then they want to distribute it evenly among their comrades. But the Chicago's teachers union are actually cheering the fact that these radicals have set up guillotines in front of Jeff Bezos's house. I mean, we know that the union is totally corrupt. I mean, absolutely, they're controlled. It's a democratic entity. But I mean, where does it stop? I mean, like, if they're going to be like, hey, sweet, that's a great idea. Let's set up guillotines. Let's, have them ready. Revolution, let them eat cake, whatever it is. I mean, like, where does it stop? I mean, who decides who doesn't get beheaded? You know what I mean?
I totally get, what you mean. And I'm sorry, the mute button wouldn't click for me. It wasn't a space mute.
No problem.
Where does it stop? We've got, it's like they keep having to one up themselves with even more bigger displays. Mm-hmm. And I find it very convenient. I know everybody's got a phone, but it always seems to make it to where it's filmed. And what's the point of that? Why are they trying to do that? It's just like, okay, well, then Portland does something, pretty extreme. They light a pig's head on fire or something.
Yeah.
And then Chicago feels like, and I don't know if that was necessarily there. I'm just naming places, but
I think this was in California, but Chicago was just commenting on it.
Right. I mean, but they're kind of just like one-upping each other in the sense, and it's just an extreme thing. But think about the outcome of that. It gets put on social media. People like me and you, we try to cover things. We want to keep people aware, so we're sharing this stuff. We're in this nature of sharing information as a community, and it is news. But what does it do? It's putting stuff in front of you that otherwise you wouldn't willfully choose to watch if you didn't feel like you're trying to be a digital soldier. Mm-hmm. They're putting these horrific scenes. It's essentially movies in itself, right? Mm-hmm. They didn't execute somebody with a guillotine. They just lit it on fire and were symbolic. Mm-hmm. But what's the point of that? They're putting these images in your faces to breed negativity, and that's why we really believe, and once again I'm really glad Mark's coming on because we need to talk about this, the spiritual aspect behind it, because that's a demonic thing to come up with. They're sitting there amongst some friends themselves in their drum circles or whatever they do in their free time, and they come up with these things on like, how can we be extreme? We know it'll go viral because the whole world's watching us because of social media. Then they come up with those things. And then it gets recorded, gets put in front of all of us, and then we feel the weight of that. And I know you had mentioned it earlier about how we could feel the spiritual weight on our shoulders. This week is probably, hadn't been the worst because I kind of can see where things are going, and I've been spacing out my time and trying to keep my head, straight on things. But just the spiritual weight itself, I could see the stress amongst people happening. And I know people in the chat, give me a 1 if you've felt just like a spiritual weight on your shoulders. And, this week, I obviously with everything going on with Punisher, we've all really felt that and been focused on prayer and stuff. But give me a 1 if this week itself has just been over, like you've noticed it's more than normal.
Because what it is for me, I mean, because it's not like it's not like it's the worst, but it's the duration. It's the fact that it is still going on. We've been placed in this heightened, like ultra anxious position where, I think every day, I know I'm waiting for it. I'm like, what shoe is going to drop next? What is the next horrible event that's going to take place? And at the same time, it's traumatic, but then I saw many people in the chat saying that they're normalizing it. It has become normal. It's like I'm expecting it to happen. I used to wake up and be like, whoa, what happened to the world? I can't believe this is the way that we're living now. And now I'm just like, yeah, this is the way we're living now, man. Like, this is what's happening. This is what they've done.
Yeah, imagine, like, let's just go back a few years when me and you met.
Yeah.
Imagine if we were having to, like, tell each other back then what's going on in 2020. We almost wouldn't buy it.
No, yeah.
But now, just like how people in the chat and how you just brought up, they are normalizing. They've over time done this. And what I want to remind people about, or at least how I see it, is we always say, they're not really after Trump. They're after us. He's just in the way.
Yeah.
Well, then if we are the target, and on top of that, they don't like us at all for the work that we've been doing, exposing evil doesn't come without a backlash. We are getting that kind of psyop of normalization. We are having this shoved back in our faces and having to see, all right, this is what you're dealing with here. that, you know, it's like flexing. They're flexing at us with this stuff. And that's why, you know, like we gotta continue to stay prayed up, be there for each other.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why, I mean, that's why we do these shows. And even though it's difficult, at the end of the day, I'll still say this. I have no problem saying this. Call me ignorant, call me stupid. I don't care. I still have faith that we're going to come out on top in all this.
Me too. I'm right there with you, you know.
Right. And I mean, and that's not just me just lying to myself or, you know, just having blind faith, but essentially faith is, you know, in the unknown. You know, I have faith in God. I mean, I believe that God is going to lead us through this, even through the worst of times. And what we're seeing every day, this is definitely not the best of times. Mm-hmm. But that's just how I choose to live. And I try to put that out there for other people to maybe at least feed off of it, mm-hmm. or at least hear it from another perspective. But I don't blame people at all for finding themselves in an emotional pit, mm-hmm. during these times, because it's by design.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I mean, I've been trying to balance it by spending less and less time on social media, because it's all that I see, you know. I mean, obviously we're living the news on a daily basis. I can't escape it, you know, but I mean, I have to give myself that time off, and I have to have the ability to decompress. And if I'm just hanging out on social media all day and just watching this stuff, it makes it much, much more difficult. But I mean, it's getting to the point where I can't even really do that, you know. I mean, I need to keep clearing my head on a more frequent basis. Otherwise, it's going to affect me in a negative way. And I can only imagine it's doing the same thing to other people, you know. So, yeah, Hog says time to regroup. I agree, man. You know, I mean, I think it would be great if I could maybe take a week off. But I don't think that that's possible between now and the election. I think that I gotta keep going, because this is not going to stop, you know. I mean, and it's important. It's important to me to do here and to be here and to do this.
Right, and I've had that too. Just full disclosure, like in my head, I'm like, I could turn off my computer, tell Red Pill I need a break. You know, you'd put the word out for me, and I could just stop and then be the best I could be energy wise come November 4th, right? Mm-hmm. Just getting past all these things. But I'm just like you. It's just like, I want to be there. I want to help carry the weight with everybody out here. Because if we're all having the weight on the shoulders, we're there to help each other with it. And, you know, I'm not going to lie, a November 4th vacation to the end of the year sounds fantastic. Just mm-hmm. turning off the internet entirely, you know, asking them to just cut it off so I don't touch it.
Right.
It sounds great. Is it going to happen? I don't know. Now, Twitter is a different story, because it's just such a cesspool. I love my family over there. I'm not saying y'all are the cesspool, but, you know, cesspool seems to like make its way over to me, because sometimes when things I tweet take off, and then people want to come around and say certain things. But yeah, it's one of those things. I'm right there with you. The idea of stopping now when we're under 70 days till the election, which is crazy to think about how close we are.
Yeah.
To get to the election, to me, like I've said before, I don't want to look back on this time and say I could have done more, or I did it the wrong way.
Yeah.
And me, I would love to look back on November 4th and say I made the gauntlet and I did it with my friends.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
So that's why we are. It's not always going to be pretty, but if anything, if I could bring a smile every once in a while on Twitter to people joking around, or bring truth to a situation that gets used to help fight the narrative, or support my friends like this channel and the many others. I know White Hat's in the chat. Shout out to you, brother.
What up, White Hat?
And everybody else that everybody knows that we're friends with. You know, if I can be there for everybody like that, and just make it through to the finish line, and then take a deep breath and relax a little bit, mm-hmm. then yeah. But I mean, the next election, you know, or the next term for Trump, it's not like it's going to then end all be done. We're still going to be having to fight evil in whatever face or form that it shows itself. But this is election year, so we knew this was coming. But yeah, it's rough.
Most definitely. All right, I need to say thank you to White Squall Q. I appreciate you for that. Let's see, Robert. Oh, hey, what's up, brother? He says, happy birthday, bro. Much love to from my fam to yours. Thank you. I appreciate that. Also, J-Bell just says, God bless. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'll check the other ones here in just a minute. But you know, the... So while this is all, just cropping up, everything just continues to bubble up. We've got new stuff coming out about the Mueller investigation and President Trump's ties to Russia. They're trying to resurrect this narrative. I think it was Adam Schiff. You said that he was out there blaming what's happening in the streets on Russia. We've got somebody writing a book saying that the FBI and the Mueller team never truly looked at President Trump's ties to Russia. Who else? We got people in Congress saying that Russia is the biggest threat to our national security. I mean, at this point, I had thought we had run through all of the Russia narrative stuff, but it just continues to pop back up. They will not allow it to die.
Right. No, Schiff, of course he has no standards whatsoever when it comes to how much he lies. But
no.
He tried to say today that the Russian propaganda on the internet is inciting the violence that we're seeing now in the streets. That's the justification, because we've been waiting on them to finally admit that these riots and stuff are going on. And now we're in day one, really, of them admitting a 3-month-long riot chaos across our country. He tried to blame it on that. And then, of course, he segues into Trump supporting this narrative. And I didn't have it in the clip that I tweeted out, but he went on to say that the Russian narrative of the internet about mail-in ballots, which would obviously be all of us, is Trump is fueling that. So basically, he's now colluding with Russia again.
Oh.
And it is that crazy. But I mean, the only reason why we really want to report this or bring this up to y'all, so you're aware, so you can take it apart, laugh at it, just say, yeah, typical. And if that's the cards that they have to play, they don't really have that much to play. So they're basically trying to say now, when it comes to that report about the Mueller investigation, is that Rosenstein was helping Trump by closing the scope down, and based on when the Russian investigation was going on, that they weren't really allowed to look at the financial aspect of Trump's connections to Russia. So they're opening these things back up while laying everything that's going on in the streets at his feet, also laying the virus stuff at his feet. And they are setting up the idea of impeachment, because they're talking about it. Now they're wanting to subpoena Radcliffe, and bring him in. They're trying to go after Barr in all these situations. And it's basically like we talk about the death blossom. They're just shooting in all different directions, trying to make sure it sticks. But when you try to read the narrative out loud, you'd assume it come from the halls of an insane asylum.
I think you're totally right. Let me just say thank you to Lisa, to Mark. Oh, God's guy, what's up? He said, happy birthday, brother. Also, Donna says, you and Methods are my news now. Thanks for all you do. Happy birthday. I appreciate that. Also, Karen said, happy birthday, Home Slice. With the CDC coming out with the 6% thing, I can't help but wonder if my speeches at my local county will resonate in their ears now. That's right. Thank you very much, Joel. Appreciate you. Brad says, happy birthday, Zak, and he spells it a bunch of different ways. Thank you for continuing to bring us the truth. Much love. Thank you very much. Also, T. Roy Crooks says, thank you for all you and Methods do. I watch every day, lurking in the background, and wanted to wish you a happy birthday, brother. Cheers from Austin. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, T. Roy. And then also Darren says, God bless you, Patriot. Happy birthday, and where we go, one we go all. Let's see. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. And then Katie, happy birthday. Love you and your show. Thank you for supporting the real news, and much love. So appreciate that. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you there. So, I want to get into a little bit of good news before we bring in Mark here. We had an excellent interview today. Maria Bartiromo. She had both Ratcliffe and she had Grinnell on there. And it was interesting to have, the current and then also the past perspective. Radcliffe had briefed the Houses of Congress back at the end of July 31st, I believe. And then immediately thereafter, as soon as he briefed them, we get just a slew of additional, Russia stuff happening in the news. And it's pretty obvious that they can pinpoint the exact vector of how that information came out. I mean, he gave the briefing, And then all of these dirty congressmen, and Adam Schiff, I'm looking at you, they call their buddies at Politico, they call their buddies at the Washington Post, at the New York Times. They say, hey, by the way, here's some new Russia information for you. Go disseminate it. And then we can go ahead and echo that here in the halls of Congress. And then we get to the point that you see today, where they are, just continuing to draw that narrative thread through and make it look like Russia is somehow the number one, cancer here in America, when clearly Ratcliffe is out there saying that it's China. I mean, everybody who is anybody can look and they can realize that it's China. And Maria Bartiromo, the part where she asked Ratcliffe about the blackmailing of congressional members by China, I just about jumped out of my seat because she hit the nail on the head with that one.
Right, and she wouldn't say something like that. I like Maria. Get me wrong. She's had her few moments here or there, but she wouldn't say that without having, some kind of information she's not allowed to talk about. Because and I know that that's not new to a lot of people that have been paying attention, but she did hit it on the nail on the head. And then I respect how Ratcliffe handled it. You kind of read in between the lines. He was talking about how, he can't really talk about things in this, because of how things get politicized. And that's part of the problem, just like what you said about giving these briefings. And then they call up their news buddies and then it gets reported. And then if you notice, when we watch these press conferences with Kayleigh McEnany and Trump or anybody else, and they say, well, there's reports that are saying this. And then they kind of ask about it, but then they try to live in the world of that fake news to get an answer that they can then use in the cycle of the fake news.
Right.
And that's what he's trying to stop. And I'm glad that they had him on. I think he's handling himself well. The fact that he is very concerned about China. He thinks Russia is a problem, but not nearly as much as what China is. And then having Grinnell after, I know you're probably pivoting to that next.
Yeah, go for it.
So Grinnell came on after that and was asked about, what Ratcliffe was saying. And Grinnell said that in the brief time that he was there in the position of DNI, he had, what did he call them? He called career intelligence officials, saying that they, didn't really want to even brief Congress anymore because they lie, leak, and politicize everything. So you've got people that are supposed to be briefing Congress for them to make decisions, pass laws, inform people about the problems, and also keep the information quiet that needs to be. And they don't even want to tell Congress because of how bad of a problem it is. And for Grinnell to then, he went on to named Schiff as part of the problem. And he was just talking about all these things and how he respects how Ratcliffe is handling it. But we can't live in that kind of society to where it's all he said, she said. And then it gets printed in papers that they spent decades to get people to trust, especially people that don't have time to look at everything. And then, it becomes, you have a reality and I have a reality, and we're going to argue with each other when we both think we're right.
Well, what was really great about it too is that Ratcliffe was talking about changing the way that they're doing the briefing so that it's going to stop this stuff from happening, because then we were talking about this before the show. They'll be able to point to information specifically given to Congress and say, this is what we said, rather than this is what you spun. I'm really looking forward to seeing some traction as far as these people getting brought to justice for leaking this classified information. I mean, that was another big thing, is that Ratcliffe said that he had actually, I forgot the terminology that he used, but it, essentially, documenting the fact that somebody had leaked this classified information and probably saying, here's a list of the people that could have done it.
Right. I think it was criminal reports or something like that, crime reports or something like that, because he files these reports. And then in that same conversation, and Donna Proper in the chat brought this up, I want to thank you for reminding us about this, that Ratcliffe said today that he's coordinating with Durham's investigation, and he plans on declassifying, Ratcliffe, that is planning on declassifying more documents, but he doesn't want to step on the toes of the Durham investigation itself. So in the same breath, we're talking about Durham, we're talking about classified information, what cannot come out. And then he said that he's also filing reports on certain information that's getting leaked.
Yeah, so the information, so he's working with Durham to give Durham the information so that he can use it to prosecute, not releasing that information publicly yet, because then it would color the investigation. It would I forget, what did he say? He said that it would basically wreck the investigation. He's got to allow Durham to bring the information out, at which time they can go ahead and declassify it. But if it's part of an ongoing investigation, so the information can't be leaked yet. I need to say thank you to Karen. She said, happy birthday, Red Pill. Between you and Praying Medic, that was my Red Pill. So thank you very much, Karen. Also, thank you to Darren. I think I said that one. So that's it. Oh, White Hat just sent a donation. Thanks, White Hat. I appreciate that, buddy. And let's see if there was a message attached to it. Happy B-Day, mofo. Love you, brother. Love you too, dude. Love you too. Also to Bales. Bales in Australia are one of our many Australian correspondents. Thank you very much, Bales. I appreciate that. This is also some breaking news. There is a pro-Trump rally taking place in Los Angeles right now, and apparently shots have been fired on the parade of pro-Trump people in their cars and on their motorcycles. They're in a neighborhood of Los Angeles right now, driving down Ventura Boulevard in the Woodland Hills neighborhood of Los Angeles. Police report that a tire was possibly blown out by the alleged gunfire, but that no one was injured. They also report 3 suspects are holed up in a nearby apartment building. An estimated 700 vehicles were participating in the caravan. There is some video footage that's been released. I'm going to go to that right now. All right. Apparently, it was only footage of the caravan. I thought for some reason that it was going to be footage of the actual shots being heard. But that's no problem. At least nobody is hurt. That's great news. But, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to make us feel that it's not safe to go out there as Trump supporters. If they can't stop us from exercising, our rights in the voting booth, then they're going to stop us from exercising our right to free speech out in the real world.
Right. And just real quick, because I know we're about to bring Mark out. I see people in the chat talking about what's the 6% thing. Are we going to talk about that later with Mark?
Well, I guess, yeah, we'll talk about it with Mark. But I talked about it on the show last night. We will talk about it with Mark specifically. So just hold on to your 6% hats and we'll talk about it. Don't worry.
All right. But yeah, we've already got 7,300 people here hanging out with us, which is awesome. But then again, it's a Mark Taylor night, so it's pretty common for that to happen. And thank you guys for listening to us ramble for this hour. Really appreciate it. I see 2.6 thousand likes. If you guys can, let's just shoot that up to 3 real quick and beyond. If you guys don't mind, that'd be awesome. And just like he's been reading off the donations, we thank you guys for hitting us up on PayPal, Cash App, all that good stuff.
Yeah, you guys are very kind. On Cash App, Steven, thank you very much, Steven. Also, thank you very much to Leslie. She says, happy birthday. The Spicy Conservative says, happy birthday. Hope you and Real Red Pill Girlfriend have a great weekend. So far, so good. Honey, I love you. Thank you for taking care of the dogs. Also, Dana Finkler, he says, happy birthday, Buckaroo. Much love. Love you too, my friend. And to Morris, thank you for all you do. Thank you, Morris. I appreciate that. Appreciate all of you guys. Thank you so much for all of the birthday wishes. My notifications have just been blowing up all day. Methods put it out on Twitter telling people to blow up my notifications. My phone hasn't stopped going off. I had to charge it already for a little while. And, yeah, so it means a lot to me, guys. I say this often, but I would not choose to be anywhere else doing anything else other than what we're doing right now. being in this position here with all of you, it just means so much to me, more than I can possibly convey. So thank you for being here, and thank you for watching the show. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you more than anything for being part of this movement. This is the most important moment in time, and I don't know how we're going to beat it in the future. I think that this is going to go down in the history books 100%.
I totally agree. And everybody knows this who's been following you for a lot longer than me even being around. But Red Pill really does care. He does consider y'all family.
Yeah.
And we really do appreciate it. So with that said, as he's about to bring Mark in,
Yep.
I want to ask everybody to share the show. I know a lot of people have been here waiting on us to be quiet and have Mark show up. So reach out to your friends, get your social media if you guys do not mind. Let's bring some people over here and hang out with us. And we're going to have a really good conversation with Mark. We got some interesting things to talk about.
We sure do. All right. Well, on that note, I'm going to go ahead and bring him in. There we go. Let's bring in Mark Taylor. Welcome once again, Mark Taylor, to the broadcast. Oh, look at that. You even got the Trump 2020 hat. I love it.
Yeah, baby.
Put a smile on my face. Mark, thank you very much for being here once again, dude. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me on. It's always an honor to be on here with the patriots of this country, man. And we're going to take this country back. We're going to do it. Victory is already ours, man. We just got to work our way through this.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of getting from point A to point B. I know what's going to happen in the end, but it doesn't mean that the journey there is going to be easy.
That's right. That's right. Look, nobody said it was going to be easy. You know what I mean? It's just, this is the thing about the prophetic that everybody wants. Everybody wants to know every little detail of what's coming next. And this is where I tell people you have to be careful with the prophetic. If you lay out the prophetic words, they want to go to my website, swordrescue.com. They can print them off for free and lay them out. It's like a blueprint. Start to finish of where we started and where we're going. Now, here's the problem that people get into right now. They want to get into the psychic realm, which is not what the prophetic is, okay? They want to know every little detail. Mark, what's coming next? Or what's God saying about this? Look, there's nothing wrong with that, but everybody can hear the voice of God for themselves. My point to this is that if you lay them out, it's like a blueprint. If God gave us every detail, we'd have no need for faith.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this is a work in progress for even the patriots, for the men and women of God here, to build our faith, because we are coming upon the pinnacle of this fight. The pinnacle of this fight is, I believe, is going to be right at November 3rd. And we're going to incrementally increase as we get closer to November 3rd. I think we're going to probably have some issues after November 3rd, but we're already expecting this. God's been preparing us for this for 4.5 years. Mm-hmm. God's been speaking this exact message for 4.5 years. None of this should be really catching anybody off guard. It's just we're in the middle of this. We are in a battle of epic and historic proportions right now that nobody in our lifetime has ever seen or even experienced right now. We've not seen this on the earth since the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ himself. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, I got something that I'm going to read probably a little bit later on in the show here that I think is going to bless people. It's going to really help them out here. But I mean, my point is this, is that we would have any need for faith if God told us every step of the way. We have to have the faith to know that God is in control. There is a plan. It's God's plan. It's heaven's agenda, not Donald Trump's, not Q's. Yes, they're being used by God in order to implement this plan of heaven's agenda right now. Mm-hmm. So this is what we have going on right now. This is where we're at. We're approaching the pinnacle, and God's going to increase our level of spiritual warfare on how we do spiritual warfare. He's going to increase and accelerate our teaching on how we do spiritual warfare. He's going to, take us into this battle, if you will. We're going to be more prepared, if you will. And so these are exciting times, man. Mm-hmm. I mean, it really is. I mean, look, are there some bad things happening? Yes, there is. We're not going to sit here and blow smoke up people's skirt here. We know there's some bad things happening on the earth. We've taken some casualties. And we were talking about this pre-interview, mm-hmm. and we're always going to have casualties in any war right now. And all we can do is pray for these individuals. All we can do is lift them up. But a lot of times people, I think, misunderstand a battlefield commander. A lot of times, unless you've been in the fire service, military, or law enforcement or something like that, people have a hard time understanding what a battlefield commander actually does. There's a lot of times when a battlefield commander, he cannot focus on what's going on so much on the lower ranks as much as what's ahead of him in the battle. How am I going to win the battle? What do I need to do to win this battle? And this is where a lot of where people are questioning Trump. Why isn't he doing this? Why isn't he doing that? He's the general. Mm-hmm. God's the head general, but he's using Trump as the head general to help run this war. Now, we all know military intelligence is with this as well. The military is behind this as well. Mm-hmm. But, there's sometimes that things have to play out. Now, I know what Q had just said more than once, that, you can tell somebody something, but if they live it out, it's something totally different.
Yeah, you got to show them.
You got to show them. Now, here's the thing. Me as a prophetic voice, God has always used me as a prophetic voice, as painful as it is, and I hate it sometimes, but I have to live something out, and that's my message. And so it's painful to have to live that way, but that's exactly right. I could tell you something, and it may have an impact, but if you actually experience it firsthand, you'll never forget it, and that's where we're at right now on this planet right now, what God's doing.
Yeah, it has a far greater impact. Methods, go ahead.
Far greater.
Yeah, no, I was having a discussion earlier this week with my buddy Woke Society, Scott, about if people wake up during this time as compared. Now, I'm personally grateful for having, the eyes to see during all this stuff, being able to pay attention, have faith in God, live in that light and understand things kind of as they're happening in real time, the best that I can. But people who wake up during all this that are full blown asleep, it's going to shock them to the core and take them into the future and not ever go back to their slumber. Or at least that's, to me, having people wake up now is going to create, spiritual warriors out of this time. It's going to create, a faith that they can hold on to because they were saved in the midst of probably the hardest times that they will see in their lifetime.
Right. And let me explain what's going on from a leadership standpoint here, whether it's in the political realm or whether it's in the religious realm. Is that I just tweeted this out about a day ago. I said, or I tweeted out, Abraham Lincoln once said, nearly all men can stand adversity. But if you want to test a man's character, give him power. How many people do you know that once in leadership, their true colors come out? That's why it's a lack of character. God is judging man's character right now. Look, you'll see, how many leaders do we know, or how many church leaders have you seen where they get in the pulpit or they get in a position of leadership and all of a sudden they start acting different? You know what I mean? They start acting different. Well, you're seeing that all across the country, whether it's political realm, the religious realm, whatever it is. It's a lack of character. And what God is saying right now, what God is doing with people, character is always the foundation upon which you build everything. You see, most people think, oh, it's my gifting that counts the most. Wrong. It's your character that counts the most. Now, let me explain it this way. Your character is like the concrete foundation of a house. And if God's going to build a high rise on that 6-inch foundation, that's when it's going to collapse, because you cannot withstand the anointing that God's going to place on you because you haven't gone deep enough with your character building process. And the problem is nobody wants to go through the character building process because it's painful. And so if God's going to build a high rise, he's got to go deep. He's going deep with the people of God. He's going deep with the Patriots right now. We're having to dig deep to get through this fight, to get through this war. He's building character. And this is why you're seeing so many leaders fail right now, because they never went through that process. And I think another reason why God is saying right now, he's saying, look, I don't want my people to fail this time. We're not going to fail. We're going to go through this process, as painful as it may be. We're going to go through this process, and people are going to complete this process. Well, whether you like it or not.
Exactly. I mean, we're going to live through this regardless of what goes on.
Right.
Now, let me ask this, because this is what I think about. We've talked about it before. I've asked the chat before, but I think it'd be good for the audience that we have tonight. Give me a 1 in the chat if you feel spiritually stronger. It's since, not because Trump was elected, but since that time, and since you've been involved in paying attention to the truth and all that. Give me a 1 if you feel spiritually stronger, tougher, as just like what Mark experienced, and then give me a 2 if you don't. That's fine. But I'd like to see kind of the ratio of the chat, because I personally can speak from experience on that I have, since this has started, not only has like my camaraderie with my, people on the internet. I hated social media. I hated talking to people. I kept to myself. Now I just feel, more connected with the outside world. But on top of that, I do feel closer to God because I can see God's hand moving through this. I can see it changing in my life and my wife's life, who's not even involved in the work that I do. And then also watching it happen for other people. You get to see these, examples all the time. Punisher, for example, I know that Mark, we just found out that the Punisher, he's now awake from being, he's in the hospital. He's now awake, and he had actually technically died for 3.5 minutes. But he is now talking, and his quote that came out from our friend Victoria Gates was, "I'm closer to God than ever now."
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So once again, I watched thousands of people pray for him over the weekend. I now hear that he was technically, dead for 3.5 minutes.
Right.
And then now he's talking with our friends within a day. That to me is God intervention.
That's right.
So yeah. And once the chat, it's always great to see these, a lot of ones out there going. It's really, really cool.
Well, but God's exposing all this stuff on the earth right now. He's exposing the leadership right now, the corrupt leadership. In every area, in every genre, whether it's in music, whether it's in Hollywood, whether it's in churches, look, we have a deep state that has infiltrated every aspect of life right now. The cabal has infiltrated everything. Let me give you a prime example here. I tweeted this out 3 days ago. I said, is there a difference between the deep state politicians and the deep state church? That's what I call them, church system. I said, nope. They feed one another. When you can get caught in a scandal and get paid millions, there's your sign. Now, who just got caught with Liberty University?
Jerry Falwell Jr. Yeah.
He gets a $10.5 million severance, and then he'll get $2.5 million over the next 24 months, plus another $8 million after that period in retirement benefits. What does that remind you of? I mean, give me a break, guys. It's the deep state church. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell people. They have infiltrated everywhere right now. There's the character that I'm talking about that God is exposing. I don't have to call these people out. We don't have to call them out by name. All you got to do is read the headlines right now.
Right.
God's exposing everything that can be exposed. He's rocking everyone's world right now. And look, this doesn't even scratch the surface of what's coming. You and I both know that. There's a whole lot more coming where this came from.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Mark, I wanted to ask you, I mean, considering the fact that, Punisher has just pulled through, but he's obviously still in the hospital. And then also for Jay, the Patriot that was gunned down last night in Portland. I was hoping that you might lead a prayer for us, for both of these gentlemen, for Punisher's safety, and then for Mark and his journey back, and also for his family.
Sure. So, Father, right now in the name of Jesus, I just lift up Jay. I lift up the Punisher right now, Father. Lord, we just ask you to bless them right now, their families right now. Ask you to bring them peace and comfort right now in their time of loss for some of them right now, Father. And for others, we just call down right now from the throne of God into Punisher's body right now, Father, complete and total healing right now in the name and by the blood of Jesus. Father, we decree and declare right now that time is up for the corrupt on this planet right now, Father, and that your justice and your righteousness would reign supreme on this planet right now. Lord, we pray for other patriots and other warriors out there right now who may be in hospital beds that we don't even know about right now, Lord, that may have battle fatigue right now. We call down from the throne of God and into them, Father, that they would be restored and they would be a new lease on life, Lord, to give them the courage and the boldness that they need to get back in the fight spiritually, mentally, physically, Lord, and even financially for some of these people, Lord, right now. Father, we just lift up the army of God to you right now, Father, Lord. And we just pray right now, Lord, that your will be done on earth as it is in heaven right now. We trust the plan. We trust you, Lord Jesus. And we thank you for everything that you're doing on this earth. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.
In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that.
Sure.
And as far as, like you said, trust in the plan. I mean, we're all trusting the plan. But, I don't think that we can be naive enough to think that people are not going to find themselves having, moments of doubt, questioning their faith.
Right.
What am I doing here? Am I doing the right thing even by being a part of this movement? But I mean, when people actually go through the ringer in this way, I mean, it really does open you up, and it hardens your resolve, so that you can continue on for what the future has in store.
This is the character building process. This is the painful building process right now, guys. That God is trying to get out of you everything that's not of him, so that he can use everything he placed in you He can't use everything he's placed in you until some of that stuff that's not part of him comes out of you. And that's what the character building process does. It's a refiner's fire. It's like almost squeezing you, man. It's pressing the toxins, the spiritual toxins out, if you will.
Yeah.
And sure, there's going to be moments of doubt in this, just like the soldiers were losing on the battlefield right now. People see this, they may not be used to some of this stuff or seeing some of this stuff. Social media, we get real-time news now. It wasn't like when we were kids where it took, a few days for something to come out or this, that, and the other. It's just right at our fingertips now. So there's a shock factor that goes on. But I want to encourage people with this. God's already given us the victory. And this is what I wanted to read to you. Do you mind if I read this real quick?
Oh, please. Yeah, go for it.
All right. So the Lord told me this a while back, a long time ago, actually. And I had written this back in 2011, actually. The Lord says, I want you to take General Eisenhower's speech. And he says, I want you to rewrite it and address it to my army. And I'm like, why would I? Okay, Lord, I'll do it. I just didn't understand why. Now I understand completely why, because it was for right now. So if people do not have a copy of this, go to my website at rescue.com and print it off. It's called the Army of God Speech. Print it off for free. Hang it up in your house. When you start getting these feelings of doubt, when you start getting these feelings like we're not going to win this war, or that we're going to maybe lose the election, or this, that, and the other, which we're not going to do, by the way, break this out and read it out loud to you, your family, whatever. It will encourage you. And this is what I wrote. It's from Supreme Headquarters, Department of Spiritual Warfare, from the Supreme Commander to the Army of God, Heaven's Invading Expeditionary Forces. Apostles, prophets, evangelists, preachers, and teachers, men and women of the Army of God. You are about to embark upon a great crusade toward which we have striven since all of creation. The eyes of the world and all of heaven are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. In company with our brothers and sisters in arms on other fronts, you will bring about the destruction of the satanic war machine, the elimination of the demonic tyranny over the oppressed peoples of the earth, and security for ourselves in a free world. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened. He will fight savagely. But now is the time. Much has happened since the demonic triumphs of years past. The body of Christ have inflicted upon the demonic great defeats in the spiritual and natural realms. Our spiritual offensive has seriously reduced their strength in the air and their capacity to wage war on the ground. I have given you an overwhelming superiority in weapons for your warfare and placed at your disposal great reserves of trained fighting men and women from the body of Christ. The tide has turned. The free men and women of my army are marching together to victory. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. For this is a great and noble undertaking, and the victory is yours, your supreme commander, God.
I love it.
If you don't have a copy of that, folks, go print that off. That is straight from the Lord himself right there. The victory has been guaranteed. He didn't say, he already told you in there, he will fight savagely. Mm-hmm. He's telling you in there, the enemy's going to fight savagely. And I like to use this analogy. Right now, the cabal is in its death roll. I live in Florida. I live in the middle of nowhere. If I catch a gator, he's going to do what's called a death roll. And that's the most dangerous part of catching a gator if he starts doing a death roll. And that's what the enemy is doing right now. He's already been caught, guys. The cabal has been caught. He's in his death roll right now. This is the most dangerous part of that. That's where we're at right now. But God's already assured us the victory. We're going to come out the other side. We just got to do our part and get through this. In the character building process, taking our spiritual warfare to the enemy. Prayers when we're addressing God. Warfare is when we're addressing the enemy. Mm-hmm. And too many churches don't preach that. They don't teach that. They don't teach people how to do spiritual warfare on a high level, period. They don't teach spiritual warfare anyway, but they don't, especially don't teach it on a higher level. So that's where God's taking us right now. That's what it's going to take in order to win this battle, and we're going to win this battle.
Right. Well, think about this. Everybody in the audience that's listening right now, we've heard a lot of people say this over the last few years. But how many of y'all, and I'll just once again ask the chat, give me a 1 in the chat if you felt led to be a part of this movement. You feel born for this moment in time. That's kind of been a quote that we've used over the last few years. I can't explain it. Mark, if you had known me 7 years ago and had told me I'd be co-hosting a show with, now we have almost 9,000 people hanging out with Mark Taylor, talking about these things, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have laughed at you. I might have slapped you just to say, quit being stupid. You know, the idea of we were all meant for this. We all have our roles to play, and we might not be exactly where we need to be for the battle, but just like what Mark's talking about here is that we are being molded to be what God intended for us to be, what God wants us to be.
Right.
And we're having this opportunity to go through these growing pains, if you want to refer to it as that, to, you know, find our ways through it. Think about something tragic that's happened in your life, something you got through that you look back on and you say, I'm stronger now. I can get through this next hurdle because I went through that mess. Mine would be personally, I have no problem saying this. I'm divorced. Mm-hmm. I went through a marriage before. Horrible things, long story short, broke me inside. And I can look back on that and take from that part and say, I'm now stronger and can handle things. And then when I was ready and prepared, God put my wife, who has now been with me for almost a decade, you know, put her in my life and I was ready for it. And now I'm in the best relationship I could ever ask for. We have things that happen in our lives that build us up for the next chapter, and I believe that's what Mark's talking about. Am I a little on point, Mark?
Yep, you're spot on, brother. These are things right here. There's people in the chat asking what my website is, so I don't know if you can put that up or not. Swordrescue.com.
Yeah, we've had a couple of the mods are continuing to put it in there, and I'll drop it again too.
So look, I want everybody to ask yourselves a question here. Ask yourself this: why was I not born 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago? Why were you born for right now? Why did God choose you as the individual to walk the face of this earth right now?
Because this is where we were needed.
Because there's something in you that he's going to use, but he first has to get something out of you before he can use you, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're all going through right now.
Yeah, yeah. You know, mine, for me personally, I mean, it was getting sober, you know, and rekindling my faith. I mean, I had to literally have my life torn completely down. And Methods, absolutely, I never would have thought that I would be here hosting the show with you guys, you know, or even, like, seeing this movement take place, you know? I mean, like, I thought America was done. I thought that there was no chance. I mean, we were not going to be able to recover from everything that had been done to us, and that I was just basically sitting on my couch waiting for complete and total annihilation.
Well, look, here's what I get sick and tired of hearing. I get so sick and tired of hearing these preachers or even prophetic voices that start prophesying judgment on America, judgment on America. Why is it this? America's going to burn because of all the aborted babies, this, that, and the other. I get so tired of hearing that. Why do we never hear judgment on India?
Yeah.
Why do we never hear it on Saudi Arabia?
Yeah.
Why do we never hear it on countries that are 1,000 times worse than America ever thought about being? But everybody wants to come to America and prophesy judgment on America. If America was under judgment, okay, Hillary Clinton would have been the president and this thing would have been over with by now. Mm-hmm. Why did God place Donald Trump in office? Because there's something great that God wants to do upon the earth right now. Right. Look at the patriotic movement right now. Is it really the patriotic movement, or is it the spirit of Elijah that's arising on the earth? That's what I ask people all the time. So, I mean, there's more to this than what meets the eye. God is freeing the spiritually oppressed people of the earth right now so that his gospel can go forth. And it takes a battle like this in order to change it. Look what's happening across the country. I think I just saw numbers. What was it? Germany. They were in the streets. The Patriots, patriotic Germans were in the streets. They're tired of it. People are sick and tired of the slavery from the cabal that the cabal has had over this entire earth right now. Now, look, I think I read it on the last show. We talked about all roads lead to Rome, where this discovery was going to take place. This archaeological find, and this find would rock the Christian world. It'd be so cataclysmic, it would rock the Christian world. Now, people ask me all the time, well, what do you think it is? Do you think it's the Ark of the Covenant? Or, you know, it could be relics. I don't know what's in the Ark. I mean, you know, we know the Ten Commandments could possibly be in there. I don't know what they're going to find in today's time, what they're going to find.
Right.
But, you know, what do I, Mark Taylor, humbly, in my opinion, feel like it's going to be? I feel like the Lord has told me it's going to be scripts, scrolls, scribes. And I know scribes are going to say, and my mom brought this up to me the other day, and I didn't even realize this. I kept saying scribes, and she said, you realize a scribe is a person? And it didn't dawn on me that maybe they're going to find a person in a tomb with these scrolls.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I'm like, she says, do you realize what you were saying? And I said, no, I didn't even realize until you said something to me. So, I mean, it's going to be books and scribes and scrolls or whatever of truth that's been held back from us from all of time. And I can't vet all this, but I was told the NSA already has it. So I can't vet that for 100%, but I was told that they have all esoteric knowledge all the way back to the flood that's been vetted, this, that, and the other. Now, think about this for a second, because the Lord told me, he said, do you realize whoever holds this information holds the keys to control over the entire earth? Mm-hmm. The cabal had this, brother.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why they had control. Think about this for a second. If we have the info now, what does that tell you? We're in control.
Yeah.
The Lord said when he releases this information, it's going to be a worldwide deliverance. It'll be a type of worldwide deliverance. Now think about this. It's going to be stuff that were purposely left out of the Bible. Mm-hmm. Throw confusion into man right now so that we'd all be bickering and fighting and division. It's bad enough we got all these different denominations. I don't even believe in these denominations. It's a bunch of garbage. It's just one more thing to divide man. Mm-hmm. So it's all these things to keep people in disharmony, if you will, whatever you want to call it. So these are the things that God's going to bring upon the earth right now. And Donald Trump is going to see a second term, and there will be another Trump in the White House, by the way. Mm-hmm. And so, but in his second term, Katie, bar the door, man. That's all I'm going to say, because I think it's going to be game on. There's going to be no stopping what's coming, and it's going to be phenomenal, man. We're going to see cures released. I mean, look how he's fighting for HCQ right now. Look how he's fighting Big Pharma right now. With the pricing on Big Pharma, with the pharmaceuticals. Yep. I mean, all these things, he's putting a hurting on these guys. What do you think's going to happen his second term when he's got nothing to lose at that point, man?
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be incredible. I mean, this is the absolute dream that everybody always has for the second term of a president that has never come true. I mean, President Trump has already done more in less than a single term than every other president has done in 2 terms. So I can only imagine how incredible the second term's going to be. Trump unleashed. That's right. I just need to do a couple of quick thank yous. Yep. Baby Love 78. Thank you very much. She said, happy birthday, brother. Also, let's see. Deborah says, love the show. Thanks for all the great information. Thank you very much, Deborah. James says, happy birthday, brother. Appreciate you guys all for those. And if there's anything coming in from PayPal, I'll say thank you for that as well. Yes, actually, Floyd stand for the 4th. Thank you, Floyd. Dodie, thank you very much, Dodie. Also, Tamra, any message from Tamra? Just thank you very much. Chris, appreciate that. Chris, also, Julie, no message from Julie. Mark, thank you very much, Mark. He says, happy birthday. I appreciate that. Gail says, happy birthday. Wish I could give more. Love your show. Never miss it. Thank you very much, everybody, for those very generous donations. I appreciate all of you there. So, obviously, Mark, we've been talking about, we're going to be running through the gauntlet here until the election. I mean, do you have any sense on particularly, anything that you feel is coming up? I mean, obviously, we know that they're going to try to cheat in the election. I mean, we just had an article come out, a Democratic operative, somebody who said that, that voter fraud is alive and well, especially when you're doing it through the mail. We had talked a little bit about the blockchain voting. I mean, what was it that you had heard about that?
There was something to do with this quantum thing or whatever. With the they had this technology. I think you said about who said that earlier. What was his name?
Parscale.
Yeah. So he was talking about this technology that nobody knows about. You know what I mean? That they're fixing to release this, that they could get around the media, get around social media. Whatever it is. Now, I don't know. Is this going to be a trump card they drop at the last minute to protect the voting? I have no clue. I really don't. But if he does, he's got to get 2 things done before the election, and we're not that far. How many days away from the election are we? Anybody know?
70, is it?
70? Okay. So I'll say estimate 70 days away. So we're almost a little over 2 months away here, 2.5 months maybe. And so he's got to get control of the social media thing because, even if he drops FISA, everybody's getting suppressed. Everybody's getting kicked off social media. Like right now, this interview is probably being suppressed like crazy on YouTube, like they're doing to us all the time. So he's got to get control of social media. He's got to open it up for the truth to come out. We can't sit here and scream that, digital soldiers and memes, and we can't get the truth out. And so that's one thing. The second thing is he has to get control of the voter and electoral fraud. And what does he have up his sleeve? I think he's got something up his sleeve, honestly. I don't know. That's just my humble opinion. I'm not prophesying that. I'm just saying that I just think something's coming, maybe where he's going to get control of this, and the elections will be in fact fine. Now, will there still be some stealing out there? Yeah, probably, absolutely. There's probably always going to be somebody out there that's going to succeed in stealing something. You know what I mean? But look, half these guys are not even supposed to be in office anyway. We already know this. They've been stealing and cheating this stuff for decades. So
I can only hope that we're going to have a big changeover here come November. Richard said, happy birthday to a valued American patriot. Have a great year. Appreciate you there, Richard. Thank you very much for that. You know, the thing is that so many people out there are just so anxious about the voter fraud issue. You know, everybody,
Right.
Many people are, you know, are on the same page as us. You know, clearly, I do believe everything is going to be safe. I believe President Trump is going to be sworn in for a second term, although there may be a little bit of controversy about it. I know that the Democrats are going to try to say that he's not a legitimate president. We have Hillary Clinton out there kind of sowing the seeds of division, telling people that Joe Biden shouldn't concede on election night, kind of do the same thing that she did, only a little bit worse. But I mean, you know, you look at President Trump, you look at the things that he's doing. I mean, he does not appear to be a man who's scared. He does not appear to be somebody who is too worried.
No.
I mean, he's letting people know, hey, you got to pay attention to these things. But he's never once come out and said, you know, oh, you know, it is going to, you know, be a dangerous thing for us on November.
Well, you know, he's been hammering the mail-in voting. Like, they're going to steal the election. They're going to steal the election. I think what President Trump is doing, every time he brings up an issue, this man's 10 steps ahead of everybody all the time. We know that, right?
Yep.
I trust him. And so when he starts doing that with the mail-in voting, that tells me he needs the patriots to begin to scream about this voter stuff, to put the pressure on local governments, put the pressure on. What does that ultimately do? It's like putting in a vice, like we talked about. That character begins to come out, because what's happening now? They're coming out. They're not even hiding their colors anymore. All the Satanism's coming out. All of these people is coming out, like Hillary is coming out saying, well, you know, don't concede no matter what. This may be such a blowout. They're not going to have a choice. They're not going to have a fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we will see. But you know what I mean? But I think that's what's coming. So,
you know, talking about the blatant Satanism, did you see in the Democrats the DNC 2020 logo? There's a pentagram, right? I mean, you just turn it to the side a little bit, and it's right there.
Yeah, and I think it was supposed to say "Death to America" from what those symbolisms were.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I saw an interesting video from Scott Adams the other day. He was talking about all of these various coincidences with Joe Biden and his campaign. Build Back Better. If you wanted to hide a 666 in there, you can do that inside the bees. I mean, that's getting a little, you know, out there. But I mean, you know, it's honey, what was the math that he did? Something about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's name, you could get 666 out of it. But I can't remember. But it was an interesting thought. Yeah.
Well, look, Trump has got a lot on his plate right now. We got riots going on in all the major cities. Black Lives Matter, Antifa, this, that, and the other. And I want to explain to some people what's going on here. This is not my revelation. This is a lady named Gina Phillips. And if nobody's ever heard of Gina is a counselor for satanic ritual abused victims and MK Ultra victims. She actually does deliverance on these MK Ultra people. And if you go back and you can listen to a couple, she's done, I think, 2 interviews now with Chris McDonald. McFiles, what I do interviews with on every Monday night. And it is incredible. It is mind-blowing what this lady has released. Now, she is a certified counselor, but she's about to give up her license because she wants to expose all of these things. I sent her some tweets from Kanye West, because I've been telling people you cannot trust Kanye West because he says he's a Christian. And she explains what's going on. So I want to explain a little bit what I have learned from her and pass on to your people. Is that through all this, we all know they speak in comms on their Twitter. I sent her one of Kanye's Twitter. I said, look, I know darn good well this is comms. I sent it to her. She decoded it, brother, and it was, boom, spot on what he was trying to do. Yes. Now, Gina explains it like this. All these kids you're seeing in the streets, the MK Ultra, it only takes like an hour. They have it down to an art. They have it down to a science. They will fragment your mind into 100 pieces. And each piece is separated with a disassociative wall of amnesia. So they can program each piece. The programming's in you. She said, when you see Hillary or the Queen wearing purple, that's end of the world programming. If they're wearing green, it means this. If they put out something in verbatim, like on Twitter, it activates the code. Some may be assassination codes. Some may be other codes. She says she says they're doing it in daycare. They're doing it elementary, junior high, high school. Churches are doing it. If you put your kids in daycare, listen, it is mind numbing. She confirmed so many things that the Lord was showing me that was going on. Now, all these guys in the streets, this is why they can't be reasoned with. You see Rand Paul trying to reason with these guys? Or it wasn't reason with them. It was, but you can't even talk to these guys. That's what Rand Paul was trying to say. You can't even reason with these guys. You can't reason with someone that's been mind controlled. Do you notice the guys in the streets with the umbrellas?
Yes.
Those are their handlers, brother.
Yeah, I've often thought that, yeah. That
activates the programming. And she said what that does, the umbrella reminds them and activates the violence programming, saying that if you don't get violent, we will activate the tormenting spirits that we have placed in you to torment you until you do. Now, I want to go deeper into this for a second here. This is where we're at with the enemy. And this is what I keep telling people with the church. Or because the church is combat ineffective, the church system. We've talked about this many times on here. It's the army of God, the remnant, that's doing most of the work. This is a kill or be killed moment, guys, in the spirit realm. All this is a manifestation of what's happening in the spirit. It always starts in the spirit first. It manifests on the earth next. This is kind of a crude analogy, but this is what I like to use. If you are a man or woman of God right now, the enemy has a gun to your forehead, and the barrel's right here. I want you to feel the barrel right there on your forehead, and he's got his finger on the trigger. You have a gun. You have it to the enemy's forehead. You have your finger on the trigger. Right now is a kill or be killed moment in the spiritual realm. It's a matter of who's going to pull the trigger first. And that's what God is saying right now, why he's taking us to another level of spiritual warfare. You know, Q even says all assets activated.
Yeah.
What that is, spiritually speaking, is the demonic has activated every piece of warfare he has on the earth right now because he's in his death roll, which means God is now going to give us the warfare and the weapons we need to go after the enemy. We have to have a kill or be killed mentality in the spirit realm right now. This is the only way we're going to win this right now. So it's a kill or be killed moment. That's where we're at right now. There's no reasoning with these people right now. It's not like you can walk up to these people, she said, and say, come out of them in the name of Jesus, and that's it. No, it doesn't work like that. It's a very difficult type of process that they have to go through with these people. So, I mean, it's like she said, like with Kanye, that one fragment of him that's trying to break free of the programming is legitimate. Like he's wanting to probably try to serve Christ. There's a part of him that wants to serve Christ, but the other 99 pieces are serving Satan at night, and he doesn't even know he's doing it.
Yeah.
And so this is what you're dealing with on the street right now, is these mind-controlled kids. And the ones with the umbrellas are the handlers.
Smart Assist says Red Pill has lost his way, is not reported on 39 children saved in Atlanta the last. Yeah, actually, we talked about it on Friday night, so I'm sorry you weren't there, but we've already spoken about it, and I didn't think that I needed to bring it up again. But yes, in Georgia, there have been some incredible rescues of children that have taken place, and I think I even talked about the fact that it wasn't the only one. I think that there's been quite a few, like up to a dozen that have taken place, rescuing groups of children in the last week or so. Thank you also to David, says God bless Red Pill and your work. Appreciate that. I wanted to talk. Well, go ahead, Methods. What were you going to say?
Well, first off, I just want to thank everybody. We're pretty close to 9,800 people watching. Thank you guys for sharing the show. 4.7 thousand likes. We really appreciate it. Now, I know Mark mentioned the umbrella being, a trigger, if you will. Right. It made me think about that song by Rihanna called Umbrella.
Yeah.
I heard that before because, I was just looking at the chorus here and it talks about taking an oath and sticking it to the end. If you get under my umbrella, I'll be there. It's basically, we're going to be unified. And the song even talks about the Dow Jones dropping. So it's interesting to see these things kind of play out like what you're talking about.
Well, the music are all coded. Mm-hmm. What they wear in the music videos are codes. One of the worst is Beyonce. I mean, the satanic stuff and the rappers are usually the worst. Now, we all know that when these guys, I don't care if you're a rock star, Hollywood, we all know rappers. I mean, some of these rappers are some of the worst. I mean, what they have to do to get to that level with a satanic ritual abuse, whether it's a satanic sacrifice, whatever it is, and yes, they're even doing that in the churches, guys. I hate to tell you this because they are, but it's hard to wrap your head around how big this thing is sometimes and who all's involved. You know what I mean? And I think that's what's going to hurt people the most is when they find out that even some of these big name evangelicals have been involved in some of this when it gets exposed with it and may have indictments with their names on it. But this is why you're seeing Hollywood to me right now is they're already dead. Oh. Hollywood's already dead. They're finished. And this is why God's also bringing up other people to make movies and music and this, that, and the other, in his frequencies, so to speak.
You know, what's really interesting is that as a result of what's happening with this pandemic, everything that's taking place, I mean, Hollywood is virtually being gutted right now. I mean, you've got Disney previously the powerhouse. I mean, they were just perfectly well adjusted for the environment that they were in. Now, because all of their parks are closed, they're losing millions of dollars a day. They're about to fire just a ton of people, and they see the writing on the wall. I mean, nobody's going to the movie theater. They can't produce films. Even if they did, then there would be nobody to be able to go out and see them. I mean, this could equal you
just muted yourself, buddy.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That was only on your end, but so. But yes, we could see just a complete gutting and rewriting of how this stuff takes place because they're not going to be able to continue to do it in the same way.
Absolutely. So you got people like Mike Smith and Liz Crokin. They're going to be that did Out of Shadows. I mean, all these guys are coming forth right now to establish a new type of Hollywood. We're making documentaries, making movies. God is moving on the earth right now, man. We just got to be able to see it right now. The tear down. Look, anytime you do a tear down phase, a demolition phase, it's going to get nasty. It's going to get dirty. It can get dangerous. You know what I mean? Which is where we're at right now. It's all about tearing down the old structure and building a new one right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree on that. And just like how, things that are meant for evil could be used for good, the fact that we have this virus that's came everywhere. We need to touch on the 6% thing.
Oh, I just going to say 6%. I just read that.
Yeah.
We got to talk about that. 6% of the COVID deaths were actually died from COVID. 6%.
Right. So 94 were basically due to something else happening. And, I showed this. This is also something we talked about last night, and I showed last night. Gino actually sent me the information from the CDC. And this is another important point is that, we know that the organization's putting out this information, like the polling, it's fake. The information coming out from the CDC, we know it's loaded. And the guest last night also let us know that that every single time a person takes a test and it shows up as positive, that goes into the pool of positive tests. So there is no distinction between test 1, 2, and 3 from the same person. It's like positive case, positive case, positive case. So even knowing that, only 6% of the entire number of people who have lost their lives are as a result of truly from this sickness. Here we go. I'm getting pulled up.
Look what happened in Florida. I think was a Fox 35 or somebody down here in Orlando broke the story that 98% of the positives in Florida were in fact not there. It was actually 9.4% or something like that were only positive, not 98%.
Oh, wow. That's insane. So
that was all the labs in Florida were doing that. They said all of them.
And then here I will go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see this. But these are the numbers that we're at right now. How they have just essentially completely dropped. Here is where we started out back in March, and now this is where we're at. So we had the first wave, that second wave, and here it is. But the point of that is, despite all of the lying that they do, despite the manipulation of the numbers, we're at the point where they can no longer manipulate. It's over. Yep. This is done. We are here at the end, and there's no more lying that they can do. It's
take the mask off, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you go into a store, somebody says, well, why aren't you wearing a mask? And I look at them, I say, does that mask you're wearing work? Well, yeah. Then why do I need one?
Right? Absolutely. Let me just say thank you to Julian. Julian says, keep up the good fight. Happy birthday. I appreciate that, Julian. David says, God bless Red Pill in your work. Appreciate that. Dodie said, keeping it real. Thank you. Appreciate that, Dodie. And Tamara also said, nothing, just sent the birthday wish. Appreciate that. Wanted to go back to your point about the brainwashing, because this is something that, I've talked about quite a bit. I mean, you look at these people and the way they act and the way they just gobble up these narratives that the press and these politicians put out. And, Rand Paul walking home from, or maybe walking to his hotel from the RNC the other night, and you had this group of people surrounding him, telling him to say Breonna Taylor's name, absolutely, completely ignorant of the fact that Rand Paul co-sponsored the Justice for Breonna Taylor bill, which addresses the reasoning behind, well, I mean, it doesn't address the root cause. I mean, if she hadn't been involved with drug dealers and criminals, then, the police never would have ended up at her home. But, this will stop the police from just, coming to your door in the middle of the night and just slamming through the door, maybe showing up at a decent time, I suppose.
But that shows you that these guys have been mind controlled because they don't even know who they're talking to. Yeah. They're just simply stating what's been programmed into them. They're only doing what's been programmed into them. So that's what you're dealing with out there right now. Yeah. Yeah. It's a shame, but it's continuing on. I was saying earlier in the first half of the show, I hope that once we get through all of this, there is some type of work that can be done with these people, to kind of bring them out of that. Because, I'm not interested in having re-education camps or some, American gulag. I mean, that's what they want. They want to go ahead and re-educate us. But, I think that these people could have productive lives if they could truly see what was going on and understand, that they've been lied to in the same way we all have. Right. And I think the only thing that's going to wake a lot of these people up is going to be truth. Mm-hmm. When the truth begins to drop, look, we've all, I don't care who it is, me, you, Methods, everybody under the sound of my voice has been lied to, has been duped. All these decades, we've been taught lies, all these years. And even the truths that, even though we are on the front lines, there's going to be some stuff that's probably going to rock us. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We got to be prepared for. And so I want people to understand that. But, I think the truth, the ones that are brainwashed, I think the truth's going to wake them up. The ones who have been actually MK Ultra'd, it's going to take a little more than truth is going to help, but they're going to have to want to break free from that programming, basically. Yeah. Now, another thing that you had mentioned about the colors, the color purple. Obviously, we've talked about the fact that we're in the midst of this George Soros purple color revolution in the same way that they've kind of instituted this in European countries. Our Real Red Pill girlfriend and I were driving around yesterday, and we saw a march taking place down the street. And one of the things they had was a giant purple flag. It's the first time I've ever seen one of those. Yep. But as soon as I saw it, it immediately made me think about that. And I actually wanted to ask the audience, if you've seen any of these marches or any of these people demonstrating, have you noticed the color purple being used? Methods, have you seen that besides, Clinton and these people in power?
Well, I don't pay attention personally a lot to the color stuff like that. I wish I would dig more into it. That's why I've been sitting here listening to Mark. Because it's fascinating, because you would have to use stuff like that to kind of trigger certain emotions to get certain actions to take place. Mm-hmm. But no, personally,
they're using it to trigger certain programs. Yeah. It's Gina. This is Gina's stuff now. Gina said that it's the end of the world program is what that's called.
Okay, yeah. Well, it would make absolute sense, because we have to step back and think, how can they get massive amount of people to do things and make them feel like they are doing the right thing? We talked about it earlier in the show before you came on, about how these people genuinely feel like they're on the right side of history. Right, exactly.
All right, yeah, a couple of people seeing it used, but no, a purple flag in particular, that was the very first time that I've ever seen it. Look up color revolutions. So you look at these countries in Europe that have gone through a revolutionary phase, and it has been kind of defined by a color at a certain point. And the reason is because they plan it out in advance, and they know that by having, certain keywords, certain key phrases, certain key colors, they can manipulate people and they can give them something to rally around. And in this instance, the Purple Revolution is happening here in America right now, and that is trying to remove President Trump and, reinstate somebody like Hillary Clinton, or whether it be Joe Biden or whoever is going to go ahead and pick up the mantle after that. Somebody that can go ahead and be controlled by the cabal and Soros and everybody behind them.
Right. And now somebody said here, purple is the color of royalty. Yes, you are correct. In the positive, you got to remember there's a positive and a negative to your colors. Like red in the positive would be anointing, biblically wise, and then in the negative it would be war. Blue would be revelation, and then in the positive, and in the negative it would be depression. So there's a positive and a negative. So royalty, purple would be royalty, in the positive. But for this particular program that they're doing, this end of the world programming, that's what they're trying to activate right now. They're trying to force their end of the world on us. Mm-hmm. This is not our apocalypse right now, guys. This is their apocalypse right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is what they're trying. Look, they had an agenda, 2021? They had an agenda for 2021 that they were going to Islamicize the entire United States and take it over. And God said, I'm denying the end time, their end time timeline, if you will. So you got to remember, the enemy has his timeline, God has his. This is what we're fighting right now, is that they're trying to institute their timeline. And what God is saying is, no, it's not time yet, period.
And they also would want to have that going because they would have control of that timeline.
Exactly.
They would have control of the whole situation.
Right.
Now, Red Pill, I know we've only got about 10 minutes left. Unless there's something else that you want to touch on, I feel like I have something good that I would like to hear Mark speak on.
Absolutely. Let me just say thank you to Tracy. She says, my sister-in-law had 12 tests taken before getting a negative, and she was never sick. So, yeah, there we go. Clearly, it's a farce. All right, go ahead, Methods.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Mark, because I know that we know the next few months is going to be difficult. It's probably going to be the hardest times that we've had as a community. Advice, what do you think? I mean, I'm not trying to have you like Babe Ruth and say what's going to happen specifically, but what's your advice for people when we are in the crux of, such evil trying to do these end time things that you're talking about?
Right now, my wisdom to everyone is stay as close to the Lord as you possibly can. If you don't know how to pray in warfare, I would encourage people to learn. Right here, even Gina recommends this book right here. This is called Prayers That Shake Heaven and Earth by Daniel Duval. You can get it off Amazon or wherever you want to. And he's also got an advanced book on prayers. Now, he does not teach you how to pray in warfare in these books, but he's got some very powerful prayers in there that will help get you started. He's got some really good stuff in these books. Highly recommend it, but stay close to the Lord. Get into prayer and warfare, guys. And you've also got another weapon of your warfare here. You start getting down and out. I read that the Army of God speech to you guys. You can print it off, hang it up in your house. You start getting down. But God's guaranteed us the victory in his word, number one. Number two, he's guaranteeing us the victory in his prophetic words over here. So, I mean, God still speaks through prophetic voices on the earth right now. You know what I mean? Somebody made a comment in here a little while ago. I get that all the time, about the Bible is complete. Well, yeah, it may be complete as it sits right now, guys, but you can't tell me that there's not other writings out there from other people that God's hand was not upon. There's just no way, you know what I mean? And furthermore, you can't tell me that Jesus walked the face of this earth for 33 years. You can't tell me that he didn't write something. And if he did, where is it? Who's got it?
And just thinking logically, I mean, there have been so many incarnations of the church throughout the years, and we know that when the Catholic Church was the big game in town, their goal was to control people. Their goal was not to bring people to God. I mean, it was just to use their position for power. And I mean, we've seen it all throughout history. That's always made sense to me. And I mean, clearly, I mean, the Dead Sea Scrolls, there's an example right there of writings that, that were contemporaneous of the times that, people saw, and it blew their minds,
Yeah. And, look, it's amazing because I get called a false prophet, or I get called false this or false that. And it's like there are prophecies in the Bible that still haven't come to pass yet, but I don't hear people calling them false prophet.
Right.
That's what amazes me. You know what I mean? Even though they're still true and they'll still come to pass, 2,000 years ago they were written. It's amazing because I'll get what people say, well, you prophesied this 4 months ago and it hasn't come to pass yet. Oh, I'm sorry. There was stuff prophesied 2,000 years ago and it hasn't come to pass yet. That doesn't make it false.
Has time ended, or are we at the end of the game?
Are we at the end of the game here? You know what I mean? And then people will ask me, I think somebody made a comment on here, but people ask me all the time, are you pre, post, or mid-tribulation? And I tell people, I don't care. And the reason I don't care is because Jesus said to occupy till he comes. Mm-hmm. So why am I going to get bogged down in arguing about pre, post, or mid? You want to start an argument? I've seen some of the biggest names in evangelicals and argue at the dinner table or at the lunch table over pre, post, or mid. It is ridiculous. I don't care. Jesus said, occupy till I come. I got a job to do. Yeah. That is to battle for this planet for him. So that's what I'm going to do.
Good stuff. Keep it up. Let me just do a couple more thank yous. Melissa said, happy birthday, RP. Thanks for all the great info. Maria said, happy birthday, fellow Virgo. I may, let's see. Okay. Thanks, RP. I get so dang frustrated with the masks. My daughters think I need to chill. Meanwhile, Europe has mandatory masks on for outdoors. I will never shut up about this. Obviously, that's what we're seeing people rise up in Germany and France about. Let's see. Also, Deborah said, love the show. Thanks for all the great info. James says, happy birthday, brother. Pam says, love the live with Mark Taylor. Tammy said, thank you for keeping us informed. We appreciate you. Thank you very much, all of you, for that. Appreciate those donations. Well, we're getting to the end here. Mark, what do you have coming up that you want people to know about?
I do a Monday night show every Monday night. If they want to hear me, it's called the Monday Night Spiritual Smackdown on the McFiles. So we do it every Monday night at 7 p.m. They can find me there, or they can go to my website at swordrescue.com and get the prophecies for free. The Trump prophecy book, they can get it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble if they want that. I'm just doing what I'm doing right now. I come on interviews like this with you guys and just try to keep bringing the truth is all I try to do, man. I don't have anything really big coming up, that I know of. I just keep doing what I'm doing. I just try to be the best servant that I can, you know what I mean, for the Lord. But not only that, but try to be, a patriot that tries to fight for his country. This is one of the ways that we're fighting for our country right now. Actually, we're not just fighting for, this is not just about America, guys. This is about the entire earth. Mm-hmm. Because as America goes, so does the rest of the earth. Now, I know there's probably people all over the world watching us right now, and they're asking, what about my country? I tell people, pray for America, because when Trump gets back in on November 3rd, it will have a ripple effect across the entire earth, guys.
Yeah.
And one of those, I believe, is going to be China. And, I said a long time ago, a year and a half ago, I prophesied that Russia was not the enemy, it was China. Mm-hmm. Now, it's not the people of China, it's the CCP. We love the people of China. We support the people of China. It's the CCP that I believe that God's going to take down at some point. Is going to free the people of China, which is what we're going to see all over the earth. These tyrannical governments are going to start falling one after another, like dominoes.
Yeah, I mean, America is the key. If America falls,
America's
then
the key.
World falls.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. We've just got to continue on, and that's why I was saying earlier. I mean, we got to show up. I mean, that's all that it is. Just continue to do what we're doing and fight for President Trump, fight for this agenda, fight for God, and we will be successful in the end.
Yeah, and do you guys realize, and I'm going to say this, I only got a couple minutes left. Do you realize this patriotic movement is leading more people to Christ than the church system is?
Oh, yes.
Somebody says, well, I don't think God's in this move. This whole, whole thing. Wrong. Because the church, I believe, has failed miserably. The church system has failed miserably. And that their destiny is being handed over to the remnant, the army of God. And this is what you're going to see across the earth. Church is not going to be in a building anymore. It's going to be on the streets, guys. Mm-hmm. It's going to be on the streets. It's going to be in the streets, the homes. That's where it's going to break out. And so they're doing more to lead people to Christ in this patriotic movement than the church system ever thought about. And that's why you're seeing pastors attacking the Q movement and this, that, and the other, because it's making them look bad because they haven't done their job. You want to know why America and the rest of the world is burning? Because the church has not done its job. That's why.
I completely agree with you. That's something I even forgot to bring up. I talked about it a little bit this week. Methods and I, we talked about it on Thursday. But yes, you're seeing more and more Christian organizations and various churches coming out against this movement, saying that, essentially that we're preaching some type of revised Blavatskyism, but that couldn't be farther from the truth. I mean,
the reason these guys are doing this, though, brother, is because they've been activated. Mm-hmm. You got to remember, we have a deep state church.
Yep.
It's 501c3. It's deep state. They've been activated. They don't have a choice but come out and do this. And so a lot of these mega churches, they don't have a choice. This is why they're coming out and slamming the president. This is why they're coming out and slamming the Q movement, is because they've been activated. I prophesied 6 months ago. I had said, the Lord told me that the hordes of chaos have been released and Satan's pastors have been activated. And boom, there it is. This is why they're all coming out right now.
Can you tell people where to find Gina? I see a lot of people in the chat asking where they can find Gina's information.
Gina is on Twitter, and let me get over here real quick, and I'll be able to tell you. Let's see here. Gina Phillips. It is Gina, Phi, 947-24925. They can play it back. Gina, okay. Phi, 947-24925.
I just found her, and I'm going to put her link in the chat. There you go, guys.
It's right there.
Yep, that's her. Yep.
Okay, that's it. Follow her. She's even got some decodes in here for you. Right there, number one. A bunch of new followers at the last Hillary Rodham Clinton decode she just did.
All right. I just retweeted it, too. So if you guys are following me on Twitter, just go to my timeline, and it's the most recent thing I put out. All right. One final birthday wish from Lori and Shane in SoCal. Says, happy birthday. Thank you very much, you guys. I appreciate all of you. All right. Well, we're here at the end. Mark, thanks once again for hanging out with us. We've only got a couple of more shows in this special election coverage preview that we're giving until November 3rd. Everybody, hold it together. We got to be here for each other, and just don't forget that in the end, God wins. I love you all. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Methods, once again, thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Thank you to the mods for keeping the chat comfy. Thank you to everyone for the birthday wishes. And I will see you all again tomorrow at 6 p.m. for another edition of Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.